Well. You know, the days are getting warmer, so feels bad that I gotta stay at home all the time. Actually, I don't know. I'm very used to staying indoors at this point in time. So I did get started on reading with the Forgotten Ally. Actually, it's kind of interesting, the theme. The Accidental President, the Forgotten Ally. World War II is all about just like circumstances that are kind of unusual. Although going into the book, it kind of prefaces the book about the history of China and its role in World War II, and then this perspective of the other countries, right? So one interesting point that I thought was that the Cold War kind of eliminated this feeling of goodwill around China as a whole, because after the World War II, instead of China being the ally against the Axis powers, in the Cold War it became this monster of some communist regime that kind of arose from the ashes of China. And it pretty much flipped the goodwill of China in the eyes of other countries. I mean, the same could be said of Russia, right? The Cold War did also flip Russia from being this ally against the enemy and then becoming a communist nation that was kind of dangerous to the world, so to speak. Although this kind of began in World War II because Russia was actually looking for certain rewards for sacrificing so much during the war, because the Russia has lost the most people to the war by far, right? Apparently in the book it is recorded that the Russians had lost about 20 million lives to the war effort, while the UK and US each lost about 400,000. Although actually in this new book with the Forgotten Ally, it actually talks about China's losses, because China apparently has been in the war 4.5 years before the Pearl Harbor bombing happened. So China, I mean, has a significant loss of life as well, around 14 million. And I think about the perspective of China's role. The book kind of touches upon that really the focus of most of the war was in Europe. So China was kind of left to their own accord in the war against Japan, and the Allied resources were going to Europe. I'm not really sure how the Lend-Lease program kind of worked in China's favor, but for the most part, Lend-Lease, I believe, was used to support European armies and nations, while apparently China was forced to kind of take strategic points for the Allied forces while not having any resources for the most part to go into it. So it was actually for its own detriment that China kind of played out the war, its role in the war. So pretty interesting introduction into the book. So yeah, I'll look forward to reading into more of that, and hopefully another good day for today. I'll see you a little bit later. Well, it's another day, another lunch. I mean, looking at this, it does not seem too appetizing. I mean, this is just a little bit of those lentils with onions that were left over. And I have some broccoli here over some brown rice. So, you know, just an easy lunch, warmed up leftovers. Vegan, completely vegan here. So, that's pretty cool. But it's actually more tasty than I expected it to be. I think, you know, just adding some onion to beans, it really changes the pot. Maybe I should add some olive oil, add a little bit of extra. But that's it. Nom nom nom. Alright, here goes cauliflower carrot tofu noodle curry. I don't know if curry goes well with noodles, but I'm going to give this a go. Another vegan meal, and looks pretty healthy, so I'm loving it. Well. Looks like putting on a schedule is doing wonders for me. I think just like having the insight of like there's something to do at this time really changed everything about how I'm handling my day. I do need to improve on it. You know, I need to spend some more time in terms of like setting up for like what I actually need to do, because like if I'm going to spend some time every day making these videos, then I need to set up some time part of that. So pretty much right now I'm in a time block for reading, but instead I'm filming this video. I mean, it's not that important to actually be reading the whole entire time. I left 1.5 hours for the entire period of reading, but I think the goal is to just start reading in there. So really I'm just fitting in the video where I can. So sometimes I just do it during dinner, sometimes I do it during a reading. I don't know why I'm doing this meta kind of discussion while talking about the video while I'm filming a video. It's kind of like it's kind of weird, because I think artists, they tend to like to talk a lot about the things that they're doing and the work they're doing. So sometimes you have book authors, they write about an author so it doesn't make any sense. Or it's very meta, but a lot of these things are highly influenced, right, by a writer's perspective. So pretty much all writing media that you find are biased from the perspective of a writer, which is kind of fascinating to think about. But moving forward, I kind of want to think about one thing. So I was kind of interested in kind of like emotional control. Because, I mean, I like to think of myself as a pretty chill guy, pretty cool usually in high tension moments, but I think I do get pretty upset pretty often. I'd like to decrease that to like 0. I mean, I think a lot about respected like Buddhists, so to speak. So Gandhi was Buddhist, I'm not even sure, but pretty much like he was a big advocate for peaceful protests. And I'm thinking, wow, I mean, if this guy can protest peacefully, like why can't I just be upset less, right? I mean, there's really no reason to be upset. It's just amazing to me how people can be like able to control their emotions in kind of all situations and really just stay calm. And I feel like I'm pretty good at it already, but I was just thinking, how can this help me? And I think the behavior, if I'm thinking about the influencer book, then sometimes this thing just takes practice, right? Also takes influences. Maybe I shouldn't be around people that would upset me, for instance. Although sometimes you can't control that. For instance, if your family were to upset you a lot, well, I guess some would say that you could just abandon your family, but let's just say that you can't. You gotta learn to deal with your emotions. So I was just thinking maybe I should just think of situations that would upset me and then create a response to it, so to speak. Maybe it's like helpful to just write down, oh, this is a situation that would make me kind of upset, and then this is how I should react, and then I can like simulate that in my head. I'll have to flesh out ideas for that later, but I think it's an interesting idea to touch upon because I like to be upset less, even though I'm usually not too upset. But yeah, that's my thoughts for today, and I'll see you later.